When I was a teenager, my biological father sent me a package in the mail. It seemed he wanted to get to know me, something I desperately wanted in return. I found out after my mom had sent it back, unopened. She said she was suspicious. I was heartbroken, but I didn't say a thing. I was afraid of hurting her, or worse, making her angry. I didn't bring it up again. At 16, my boss shortchanged the hours on my first paycheck. I took my dad with me to ask him to make it right. At 17, when my history teacher said we'd be skipping the chapter on women's rights and move on to the Vietnam War, I said nothing. At 19, when a boy told me he didn't like my dress and asked me to change into jeans for our first date, I did it without protest. In college, I minored in women's studies, literally steeping myself in the history I hadn't been taught in high school. One day, I popped into the Women's Resource Center on campus to grab a copy of Ms. Magazine when I spotted a flyer for an upcoming self-assertiveness workshop. I signed up right away. Whatever it was, I knew I needed it. So, fast forward to an evening not too long ago as I ran through the bedtime routine with my kids. I was bathing my 6-year-old and things were not going smoothly. Me, brush in hand, she shaking her head. It was a nightly battle. If we don't brush out the knots, we may have to cut them out, I explained. Fine, then cut them out, she replied, headstrong and defiant. She dug her heels in, and so did I. The tangles were bad, and I wanted them out, and she wasn't having it. Defeated, I tossed the brush down and stood up to leave the bathroom, and as soon as I turned to go, I muttered, "You're a lost cause." Okay, oh, that wasn't my finest moment. A minute later, I turn around to see her wrapped in a towel, dripping on the rug and crying. "You're a psychopath," she shouted. "I am your daughter, and you call me a lost cause? You're supposed to love me." Okay, so she was 6 at the time, and that is not how I was raised. I'm almost 50 years old, and I'm still in therapy learning how to stand up to my mother. I dropped to my knees, held her tiny shoulders, and told her how proud I was of her. I looked right into her teary eyes and told her, "I've spent literal decades learning how to advocate for myself, and here you are doing it." From the other room, my son chimes in, "Yeah, good job, Layla. I can't stick up for myself." I apologized and I held her close, proud, because I never would have said those words to my own mom. Her big emotions terrified me. And here is the truth that I think a lot of people overlook. The courage to speak up to a teacher, a boss, a politician, a man, begins with the courage to speak up to a parent. I really do think that the line between the two is that straight. We don't get equal rights without being able to stand up in discomfort and advocate for ourselves. It's not lost on me that my intro to U.S. history began with war inserted where women's liberation should have been. I'm working double to catch up for missed opportunities to speak up while fortifying my daughter with the courage to snatch each one as it comes.